The arrival. The void of space was silent, but inside the bridge of the human exploration vessel Aurora, tension ran high. The crew had left Earth with a mission: chart new sectors, map safe trade routes, and maybe discover habitable planets. What they had not planned was to cross the invisible border into something far greater, something no human authority had warned them about: the territory of the Galactic Empire. The galaxy had whispered rumors about this empire for centuries. If other explorers had encountered them, they had never returned to speak of it. To many, it was only a legend, a tale traded in low-signal messages across outposts. But today, for the humans aboard Aurora, that legend became a reality. Alarms echoed through the vessel. Unknown ships blinked into existence around them. They were massive, covered in glimmering armor plates, and bristling with weapons that seemed centuries ahead of human design. Each alien craft dwarfed the human vessel like a predator circling prey. On the central screen, strange glyphs flashed, demanding compliance. The translation system struggled, but after a pause, the meaning became clear. "You have trespassed. Surrender." Fear rippled through the crew. Some swallowed hard, others stared at their screens pretending to focus. But the unspoken truth was written across every face. This was no simple patrol fleet. This was the front line of the Empire itself. The captain, a steady man with sharp eyes, stood in silence. Many expected him to order the white flag of surrender, to kneel before overwhelming force, yet his voice, calm but firm, cut through the anxiety. "We did not come here as enemies," he said, "and we will not bow in fear." The crew glanced at one another. His words carried more weight than the weapons aimed at them. They had all trained for danger, but this was the edge of extinction. Still, something about the captain's resolve steadied their hearts. The alien ships opened a channel. A face appeared on the screen, tall and cold, with skin like burnished metal and eyes that glowed with authority. The alien voice, smooth yet filled with disdain, demanded, "Kneel, strangers. No species enters the Empire without permission. You are outmatched. Do you accept subjugation?" A long silence followed. Every human aboard the Aurora felt the pull of fear, yet none lowered their gaze. One by one they straightened as if guided by the captain's defiance. "No," the captain said simply. "We do not kneel." The alien narrowed its eyes. Shock flickered in its expression. Few dared speak to the Empire this way, and fewer lived to tell the tale. "Then you will be destroyed," it hissed. The communication cut. Weapons powered up around them. The bridge trembled as targeting locks swarmed across the Aurora's hull. Every screen glowed red with warnings. But the humans did not cower. Engineers prepared defensive shields. Pilots steadied their hands over manual thrusters. The science officer whispered to herself, not in fear but in calculation, running possibilities at lightning speed. Their vessel was smaller, weaker, slower, but it was theirs, built with stubbornness and creativity born from centuries of survival. Outside, the alien fleet expected panic. They waited to see humans beg. Instead, what they saw unsettled them more than any weapon. Humans stood calm. The captain leaned forward, voice low but carrying to every ear on the bridge. "They think fear wins wars. They've never fought us." For the first time, the alien commanders hesitated. Their sensors recorded elevated human heart rates, but not the collapse of will they had expected. Instead, they detected sharpened focus, defiance that cut through the void. The fleet's commander gave one last chance, sending a final B. Roadcast. "This is the power of the Empire. You cannot stand against us." The captain answered with a steady tone. "Maybe not, but remember this. We do not surrender. Not today. Not ever." Tension gripped the void as both sides prepared. The aliens charged weapons that could shatter moons. The humans braced inside their fragile vessel, hands steady, eyes unflinching. And so the legend began. By mistake, humans had entered the Galactic Empire. But the Empire would soon learn that these strange newcomers did not tremble. They stood fearless. The first clash. The silence before battle was heavier than the weapons aimed at the Aurora. The alien fleet had finished charging their cannons, each weapon glowing with a furious blue light that could tear apart asteroids. On the human vessel, the shields hummed, patched together with technology decades behind what surrounded them, yet no one's hands shook. The captain gave his order. "Shields full, engines ready. Do not break formation." Around him the crew moved with a strange calmness. They all knew their ship was small, but they also knew what humans carried inside, an unyielding will to survive. The aliens expected fear. Instead, they would be met with fire. The first shot came. A beam of light ripped across the void, slamming into the Aurora's shields. The ship groaned, metal ringing like a bell under unbearable stress, but the shields held for now. Sparks flew from the panels and the lights flickered. A few gasps escaped, but no screams. "Shields at 70%, the engineer reported, sweat dripping from his brow. Another blast followed. The crew braced, teeth clenched, but the ship endured. The alien commander had expected surrender after the first strike. Instead, humans stayed upright, watching their screens with determined eyes. The captain's voice rang out, "Return fire!" It was a laughable order by alien standards. The Aurora's weapons were primitive rail cannons, small rockets, and a pair of experimental plasma turrets barely tested outside Earth orbit. Compared to the Empire's ship kill, they were toys, but humans fired anyway. The first volley streaked across space. A rail slug slammed into one alien frigate's hull, denting its armor but not breaking it. Plasma bolts burned against shields but did not pierce. To the Empire it was nothing. To the humans it was everything, a message that they would not bow. The alien commander sneered. "Foolish," he muttered. He ordered his fleet to close in, preparing a finishing strike. But something shifted. The humans did not scatter. They did not run. They moved their ship with precision, weaving through the gaps between the massive alien vessels. They fought not like prey, but like wolves surrounded by giants. "Target their sensors," the captain ordered. "Blind them." The gunners obeyed. Instead of wasting fire on thick armor, they aimed at delicate arrays, at antenna clusters, at the glowing eyes of the giant machines. The first hits sparked across an alien cruiser's sensor dish, making it flicker. The second volley blacked out a frigate's targeting array, forcing it to retreat. The alien commander stiffened. He had underestimated them. These humans were not aiming to destroy, they were aiming to disrupt. They fought with cunning, with sharp strikes meant to wound pride and precision, not brute force. The aliens tightened formation, trying to crush the Aurora in a net of fire. But humans adapted quickly. The pilot twisted the ship through impossible maneuvers, forcing massive enemy cruisers to fire carefully to avoid hitting one another. Inside the bridge, the crew worked like one body. Each command flowed into action. Each action fed into the next. The aliens saw a small ship, but what they did not see was the spirit that carried it. A rail slug finally found a weak point. It cracked open a section of plating on one alien frigate. Sparks burst across its surface. The humans cheered, not because the HFY had won, but because they had drawn blood against a force that considered them nothing. The alien commander slammed his fist on his chair. "Enough! Destroy them!" But before his fleet could unleash the final volley, something strange happened. A second alien signal cut across the battlefield. Another ship appeared. It was larger, darker, bearing the markings of the Empire's High Council. The commander paled. This was no ordinary patrol fleet. It was an inspection vessel carrying an overseer of the Empire itself. The overseer's voice crackled through all channels, filled with authority. "Cease fire! At once!" The human crew froze. The alien ships obeyed, pulling back reluctantly. On the screen, the overseer appeared, a figure cloaked in silver, eyes glowing brighter than the stars. He studied the small human vessel with curiosity, not disdain. For the first time, the voice of the Empire carried not only arrogance, but something else: interest. "These creatures entered by mistake," the overseer said, "yet they did not kneel. They fight as if they are already our equals." The alien commander tried to object, but the overseer silenced him with a gesture. Then he turned his gaze toward the humans. "You stand in the heart of the Empire," he declared, "and yet you resist. Tell me, what drives you? What makes you fearless before certain death?" The humans did not answer at once, but the captain, calm and steady, finally spoke. "Because we are human, and humans do not break." The overseer leaned back, eyes narrowing. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had found something it had not expected. Defiance born not from arrogance, but from unshakable will. The battle had ended, but the true war, the clash of spirit, had just begun. The overseer's test, the void was still. Weapons powered down, fleets drifted in silence, but tension was thicker than steel. The humans of the Aurora held their ground, scarred but unbroken. The alien commanders seethed in humiliation, but none dared disobey the overseer's command to halt. The overseer studied the humans through the screen. His silver cloak shimmered in the ship's lights, and his eyes glowed like cold suns. He spoke slowly, every word edged with power. "You should not exist here," he said, "yet you resist. Weak species usually beg. Strong species try to bargain. But you defy. Perhaps the Empire has overlooked something." The captain answered with steady eyes. "We came by mistake, but we will not kneel, not even here." The overseer's lips curved, not in anger, but in something unsettling, amusement. "Then let us see if your courage survives a trial." Without warning, a surge of light engulfed the Aurora. The ship shook violently, and the crew cried out as energy fields wrapped around them. When the brightness faded, they were no longer surrounded by the patrol fleet. Instead, they found themselves pulled inside a colossal structure, an orbital station larger than Earth's moon. The humans stared in awe. Towers rose like mountains, platforms bristled with cannons, docking bays held ships the size of cities. This was the Empire's heart laid bare, a place no outsiders had seen and lived. A voice boomed inside their vessel. "Welcome to the Hall of Trials. Here those who claim strength are tested. Survive and the Empire may grant you passage. Fail and you will be erased." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This was no ordinary trial. It was a spectacle, a stage where species were broken for the amusement of the Empire. Yet none faltered. "Prepare yourselves," the overseer said, his voice echoing like thunder. "Your first test begins now." The floor of the docking chamber shifted, and suddenly the Aurora was forced into motion, dragged by magnetic locks into a colossal arena. Barriers rose around them, glowing fields of energy that formed a dome. From the observation decks above, alien crowds gathered, dozens of species loyal to the Empire found. Ear faces filled with contempt and curiosity. Whispers rippled through the arena. "What are they? So small, so fragile. They will last seconds." The trial began with a flash. 3 enormous machines dropped into the arena. Each was a walking fortress, bristling with weapons, legs pounding the metal floor like thunder. Designed for war, they were meant to crush any challenger in moments. The human crew gasped, but their captain's voice cut through the fear. "Focus! Find their weakness!" The machines advanced, firing beams that scorched the air. The Aurora swerved, its pilot pulling maneuvers that seemed impossible inside the confined space. Metal screamed as near misses scraped the hull. "Target joints," the captain ordered. Rail slugs fired. Sparks flew as one machine staggered, its knee joint dented. It roared with synthetic fury, stumbling but not falling. Plasma turrets glowed, burning a trail across another machine's armor. The aliens in the stands jeered, certain the humans would be crushed. But humans fought differently. They did not match power with power. They struck where no one expected. One rail slug hit a glowing vent. A burst of fire erupted, and the first machine collapsed in a heap of smoke. The crowd gasped. Few had ever seen a challenger topple one of the overseer's machines. The second machine lunged forward, massive claws scraping the dome. The pilot spun the Aurora beneath it, firing plasma bolts into its exposed underbelly. The machine shrieked and fell to its knees, sparks showering the arena. The third machine stood tall, its cannons locking onto the Aurora. For a moment it seemed certain that the humans would finally be obliterated. But then the engineer shouted, "Redirect power to forward shields!" The ship surged forward head-on. The alien audience roared in disbelief. Who would charge a giant machine with a fragile ship? The Aurora slammed into the machine's chest with every thruster burning. The impact shook the arena. Alarms blared. The machine staggered, sparks pouring from its shattered armor. The humans pulled free at the last second, spinning away as the giant collapsed. Silence filled the arena. Then, murmurs spread. For the first time, the audience looked at humans not with disdain, but with unease. The overseer rose in the high balcony, his silver cloak rippling. His glowing eyes narrowed, but his voice was calm. "Interesting. You are not broken." The captain answered firmly, "We don't break. Not today. Not ever." The overseer's smile returned, sharper this time. "Then let us see how long that spirit lasts. Your trial is far from over." Above the arena, new doors rumbled open. Shadows stirred, larger than anything they had faced so far. The true test was only beginning. The shadows unleashed. The arena floor shook as the massive gates creaked open. Darkness spilled out, thicker than smoke, carrying a low growl that made even the alien audience shiver. From the shadows, creatures stepped forward, monsters bred by the Empire for war. They were huge, their bodies armored with jagged scales, claws long enough to rip through steel, eyes glowing with hunger. Each one was chained, but the chains snapped loose as they entered the dome. The overseer's voice rang out over the arena. "Behold the beasts of conquest. No species has ever survived them." The crowd roared in anticipation, certain that the fragile human vessel would finally be torn apart. Yet inside the Aurora, the crew braced themselves, fear flashing in their eyes but never winning. "They want us to panic," the captain said. His voice was steady, low, but strong. "We will not give them what they want." The beasts roared, shaking the walls, then charged. Their claws scraped against the dome's energy barrier as they lunged. The Aurora shot upward, dodging narrowly. The pilot twisted the ship through the tight confines, skimming inches above the monster's snapping jaws. "Target their eyes," the captain ordered. Rail slugs fired. One struck true, piercing the glowing eye of a beast. It shrieked, slamming its massive head against the arena floor. But the others grew more furious, their roars echoing like thunder. Plasma bolts scorched across their scales, leaving glowing trails but not yet breaking through. The crowd jeered, shouting insults in a dozen alien tongues. To them, humans were fragile, reckless, doomed. Yet as minutes stretched, the insults grew quieter. They saw something different now. These humans fought with precision. They fought with grit. They fought like every breath mattered. One beast leapt, jaws wide, aiming to crush the Aurora whole. The pilot jerked the controls, engine screaming, and the ship skimmed the creature's back. At that exact moment, the engineer redirected power to the plasma turrets. A blinding bolt struck the beast's neck. It collapsed in a smoking heap. Cheers rose, not from the aliens, but from the humans inside the ship. They were outnumbered, outmatched, but not out of fight. Two beasts remained. They circled, snarling, working together with strange cunning. The captain's eyes narrowed. "They've learned our pattern. Change it." The Aurora dived low, scraping the arena floor, drawing the beasts in close. The crowd gasped. Why bring the fragile ship within reach of claws? But at the last second, the captain shouted, "Now!" The gunners unleashed a concentrated barrage. Plasma bolts exploded against the floor, throwing up clouds of molten metal. The beasts stumbled, blinded by heat and smoke. Then rail slugs pierced their exposed bellies. One collapsed, thrashing, its death cry echoing like thunder. The last beast roared, enraged. It lunged, claws raised, fury in its glowing eyes. For a heartbeat, it seemed the Aurora could not escape. "Full thrusters!" the captain barked. The ship shot upward with every engine blazing. At the same moment, the beast struck upward. Its claws ripped through the empty space where the Aurora had been a breath before. Its momentum carried it too far. With a deafening crash, it smashed into the arena's energy dome. The shield sparked violently. Energy surged back into the creature, frying it from the inside. It howled, body convulsing, then collapsed in silence. For a long moment the arena was still. Smoke rose. The beasts lay broken. The Aurora hovered, scarred and battered but unbowed. The alien crowd was silent. For the first time in living memory they had seen outsiders survive not one but two trials. Whispers spread. Impossible. No one lasts this long. What are these creatures? High above, the overseer stood. His silver cloak shimmered, but his glowing eyes burned with something new. Curiosity mixed with unease. He spoke slowly, voice booming. You endure. You defy odds. You fight like predators. He leaned closer to the display as if searching for the secret hidden in their eyes. Tell me, humans, is it courage or is it madness? The captain's answer came calm, steady, and clear. It is humanity. We do not kneel. We do not break. No matter what you throw at us. The overseer's expression darkened. He raised one hand, and the arena gates shook again. The crowd gasped. None had ever seen 3 trials given. It was said only extinction awaited any species dragged this far. The overseer's voice thundered. Then face the final test. Survive this, and even the Empire must acknowledge you. The floor cracked open. From the abyss below, light flared. A weapon, ancient and immense, rising from the depths. It was no beast, no machine, but something far more terrifying. A war construct older than empires. The crowd held its breath. The humans gripped their stations tighter. And in that moment, the Empire itself leaned forward, waiting to see if the impossible would happen again. The final trial. The arena floor cracked open wider, and from the abyss below a shape rose. At first it looked like a mountain of steel, but as the light cleared, the humans saw it for what it truly was, a war construct from ages long forgotten. It towered over the dome, its body built from black alloy older than empires, powered by reactors that glowed like stars. Its head turned slowly, and every step shook the arena. Weapons bristled across its form, cannons that could level continents, blades humming with energy sharp enough to cut ships in half. Gasps echoed from the alien audience. Few had ever seen this construct awakened. It was a relic of conquest, a machine that once brought entire species to extinction. The overseer's voice boomed. This is the war god of the Empire. No challenger survives it. If you endure, you will not only win your freedom, you will earn the Empire's respect. Inside the Aurora, silence fell. Every crew member knew the truth. Against such a monster, their weapons were nothing. One strike would end them. Yet the captain's eyes burned with calm fire. We've come this far, he said. We will not surrender now. The construct's eyes glowed, locking on to the small human vessel. A low hum built into a roar as its primary cannon charged. The floor shook with power. Evasive, the captain ordered. The Aurora shot sideways just as a beam of pure destruction tore past, slicing the air and leaving molten scars across the arena floor. The shockwave rattled the ship, alarms blaring. Shields at 40%, the engineer shouted. The captain gritted his teeth. We can't outgun it, we outthink it. The pilot dove low, weaving between the construct's massive legs. The gunners fired rail slugs at exposed joints, sparks flying. The construct staggered but did not fall. Its enormous arms swung, smashing against the floor, barely missing the Oro. To the alien crowd, it looked hopeless. But the humans fought with reckless courage. They darted like wasps, stinging weak spots, never staying still. Look, the science officer cried. Its power feeds from a core in the chest, but the armor is too thick for our weapons. The captain's eyes narrowed. Then we make it expose the core. The plan was insane, but insanity had always been humanity's secret weapon. Divert all power to forward shields, he commanded. We ram. Gasps filled the bridge. The crew exchanged stunned glances, but none argued. They had chosen defiance from the beginning. The Aurora roared forward, thrusters blazing. The construct's chest cannon charged again, glowing like a miniature sun. The two forces met in blinding light. The human ship slammed into the construct's chest, shields flaring, metal screaming. The construct reeled back, its chest plate cracking slightly under the impossible impact. "Now!" the captain shouted. Rail slugs and plasma bolts poured into the crack. Sparks exploded, the construct staggered, roaring with mechanical fury, but still, it stood. Then, something happened the Overseer had not foreseen. The humans, battered and bleeding, did not stop. They rammed again and again. Every strike widened the crack until the core pulsed, exposed. The final volley fired, a rail slug straight into the heart of the machine. For a breath, the arena was silent. Then the construct's chest erupted in blinding fire, its massive body convulsed, weapons falling silent. With a deafening crash, the war god collapsed, its shadow stretching across the dome. The humans sat in stunned silence, hearts pounding. They had done the impossible. Above them, the alien crowd erupted, not in jeers, but in shocked cries. Words spread like fire. Humans destroyed the war god. Humans defied the trials. The Overseer stood frozen, eyes burning brighter. Slowly, he raised a hand, silencing the crowd. His voice thundered across the arena. "Never has this been done. Never has any species walked into our heart and stood fearless. Humans, you are no mistake. You are a storm the Empire did not foresee." The captain's voice, though weary, was calm. "We didn't come to conquer, but remember this, we will never kneel." For the first time in centuries, the Overseer bowed his head slightly, a gesture not of defeat, but of acknowledgement. The Aurora was released. As it drifted back into the void, scarred but alive, whispers spread across the stars. The Empire had learned a truth that could not be silenced. Humans had entered by mistake, but they had stood fearless, and the galaxy would never forget it.